And again, thank you, Mike, for having me here today. It's my pleasure to talk to you about delivering the next generation of hyper-converged solutions with Windows Server 2016. Last week was a big week for me. We were at the Ignite conference and we launched Windows Server 2016, which will be generally available later this month. For everyone to partake in, and it's just, I, like Jonathan, really like to be connected with customers and really hearing what's exciting to them and what is really driving them, and I really am proud of the work that we've been doing with a lot of our partners in this room around Windows Server 2016, and I'd love to talk to you about how I really feel like it fits in to this whole hyper-converged solutions and hyper-converged infrastructure. So, one of the things I love is celebrating birthdays or milestones. And we most recently celebrated 20 years of innovation with the Windows Server product line. It actually started, I got a little bit of flack for this because people said, well, what about NT351 and where did that go? But we kind of, we took some creative liberty around this and started really with Windows Server NT4. And this was the first time that we really took the server and really gave it to the masses, right? Before that, it was the high priests and the high priestesses who kind of worked on these, servers that were locked in a room. And NT4 with its graphical user interface really started to bring servers front and center into kind of how businesses operated in their environment. We built on that, and the next came really the enterprise era, where we looked at what we were doing with the .NET platform and with IIS and ASP.NET, and really thinking about that client-server architecture and how we would build enterprises or applications that just drove the development cycle and drove transforming the enterprise in a pretty major way. That kind of then gave way to just the data center and how we could take that efficiencies we did of being client-server and really helping you manage the clients in your organization and scale that through virtualization on the data center side. And then we kind of know out of that really has kind of born this cloud paradigm or this shift or this transformation. And so Windows Server 2016 along with System Center 2016, we really believe is the most cloud-ready operating system that we have to date, and we think is really helping fuel organizations as they think about this transformation that's been talked about through many of the speakers this morning. What's behind that, right? We really see, as we move, as Mike was talking about, there's this traditional IT that exists, and we're moving into the cloud space, and what is really the thing that's the catalyst behind that? A lot of that is coming from this digital transformation that's happening. If I think about it, the canonical example that I love to use is, did you think maybe 5 years ago even, then when you checked in for your flight, I took a flight down here yesterday, that you could check in from your mobile phone, that you could actually buy your meal actually in the app that was on that phone, right? We're transforming the way in which companies work these days. In some sense, every company is becoming a technology company, and that's really changing the way in which they interact in that connection, I think as Ray said, around that connection that they have with their customers. And behind that, you really need to change the infrastructure, right? You need to move from this world of, I want to deploy an app, give me a server, right, to a cloud model where I'm thinking about microservices and the decoupling, because the agility that I need, that DevOps style, right, is really kind of transforming how we think about building out the infrastructure. And we really see Windows Server being the heart of that, right? It's the foundation of the cloud. We talked about, and I think Diane talked a little bit about the cloud being an architecture, right? And in our mind, it's not a destination, but it is an architecture. It's the way in which you're transforming, delivering services within your company. And Windows Server really is at the heart of that. It's what's running underneath our public cloud offering, Microsoft Azure. It's also what powers the Azure Stack, which is kind of our foray into really bringing that public API set on premises. As Diane said, we really know that this is not going to be an either-or scenario, right? We're not going to have private cloud and public cloud. It really is a hybrid environment. And so that consistency that you can get, writing to a common API surface, writing to a common IaaS service, and really bringing that on premise is super important. And so, when we thought about Windows Server 2016 and we really thought about talking to customers and seeing what they were dealing with a bunch of security threats, right? The CEO does not want to make the front page of the news with what we've been seeing just in terms of a breach of attack, et cetera, that are happening. We really are seeing people want to transform their data center and the efficiency that they have with that to modernize their applications and really think about delivering this, kind of modern cloud-born applications that bring together microservices and be able to, integrate with the DevOps channel. And so Windows Server 2016 is that cloud-ready operating system that delivers the layers of security with Azure-inspired innovation for the applications and infrastructure that really power your business. I think a really key point here is, we've taken a ton of the learning that we have from running a public, a hyperscale cloud like Azure, and really taken that and delivered it into Windows Server 2016 in what we're doing at the compute layer and the hypervisor, what we're doing in software-defined networking, and taking a lot of the load balancer and network controller technology that's in Azure and bringing it on-prem so we can get that portability of workloads, and really kind of delivering that to our customers because they want to be able to run and learn from that hyperscale, but they want to do it in their own environment, kind of on their terms, and have that flexibility. And so Jeff is here with me from my team today. He actually has a session this afternoon that's going to dig into a lot of these details, but I really just kind of wanted to frame for you what we see kind of as the foundation of this. Now, of course, as we move from the software-defined data center and really doing a lot of that hardware and that kind of platform innovation into the software layer. Some people say, well, what does that do to the hardware, right? Does it make it in some sense not as important? Well, no. In our view, the hardware becomes more and more increasingly important. And the partnership that we have between what's happening in the software layer and what's happening in the underlying hardware is even more and more critical. And so one of the things that we've learned through the last set of releases with Windows Server and our cloud platform system is that we need to really work in close partnership with the hardware manufacturers, with our hardware partners, in order to really design what that system needs to look like, validate it, right, and make sure that you actually have the firmware all the way up to the OS, all the way through the software, working in a consistent way. And then how do you deploy that and operate it so we can get to, as Diane says, that vision of an hour between when I kind of bring in hardware and I have a functional cloud within my environment. And so the Windows Server software-defined program is really about creating these building blocks or these Lego blocks to power the software-defined data center. We believe that it is the most effective, cost-effective way to really bring capacity into your data center and roll that out and be able to get up and running again in this agile world. We have a ton of partners. QTC is one of those core partners, and I'm delighted by the work that we've been doing over the last year with QTC around really being able to provide a portfolio of offerings that really take QTC's understanding of the workload and what the workload requirements are on the underlying hardware, and being able to create, an IOPS optimized configuration or offering a throughput capacity balanced or a capacity optimized solution, so that we really can provide our customers with the flexibility and the choice that they need in order to drive and power their software-defined data center. And I believe there's more information here today, kind of out in the pods and the demo stations around just the collaboration that we've been doing and this great partnership. So I'll kind of close by, kind of landing at the, with Windows Server 2016 and System Center 2016, the opportunity is real and it's now, right? We're not talking about hyper-converged infrastructure being this thing of the future. It is here. There's a way for us, to really take the power and learnings of what has been, happening in the public cloud and deliver that, to power and run the underlying infrastructure in your data centers. Jeff's session is later this afternoon. I would encourage you to attend that. And the last thing I would just kind of leave you with is, what unique offer could you deliver to help your customers accelerate their adoption of the SDDC? Or if you're a customer, what are you looking for from your partners to really help you bring this innovation from something that's in the future to the reality that it is today? So thank you, and thank you, Mike, for having me here.